inspirational music swells, footage of Obama speaking at a podium fades to images of diverse crowds cheering, then to a sunrise over the White House. Picture a young boy in Honolulu, Hawaii, navigating a world that didn't always know what to make of him. Born on August 4, 1961, Barack Hussein Obama entered life with a name that stood out as much as his story would. His mother, Ann Dunham, a white American from Kansas, was a free-spirited scholar with a passion for anthropology. His father, Barack Hussein Obama Sr., was a brilliant Kenyan student pursuing economics at the University of Hawaii. Their love was bold for the early 1960s, a time when interracial marriages were rare and often frowned upon. But their union was short-lived. When Barack was just 2, his father left to pursue studies at Harvard, leaving him to raise Barack and, later, his younger sister, Maya, alone. Life in Honolulu was modest. The family lived in a small apartment, scraping by on Ann's determination and resourcefulness. She worked odd jobs, studied, and poured her energy into her children, teaching Barack the value of education and empathy. At night, she'd read to him from books about civil rights heroes like Martin Luther King Jr. and Rosa Parks, planting seeds of justice in his young mind. Barack's early years weren't glamorous. Think Spam and rice dinners, hand-me-down clothes, and the constant hum of Honolulu's diverse neighborhoods. Yet, these surroundings gave him a unique lens on the world, blending the laid-back aloha spirit with the complexities of a mixed-race identity. When Barack was 6, Ann's pursuit of her anthropology doctorate took the family to Jakarta, Indonesia, after she married an Indonesian man, Lolo Sitoro. For a young Barack, Jakarta was a sensory overload, bustling street markets, the call to prayer echoing through humid air, and a language he didn't yet speak. They lived in a modest house with no air conditioning, where Barack encountered poverty up close, neighbors who cooked over open fires, children playing barefoot in the streets. He attended local schools, where he was often the odd one out, his American accent and biracial background setting him apart. And supplemented his education with early morning English lessons, waking him at 4 a.m. to study. It was grueling, but it instilled discipline and a hunger for knowledge. In Indonesia, Barack also saw resilience, families who faced hardship with dignity, shaping his understanding of community and struggle. At 10, Barack returned to Hawaii to live with his grandparents, Stanley and Madeline Dunham, in a modest Honolulu apartment. His grandfather, a furniture salesman with a penchant for storytelling, became his anchors. They enrolled him in Punahou School, a prestigious private academy, on a scholarship. Punahou was a world away from Jakarta's dusty streets, lush campuses, wealthy classmates, and a predominantly white student body. For Barack, it was a place of both opportunity and alienation. As one of the few black students, he wrestled with his identity, feeling the weight of not fully fitting in. Kids sometimes teased him about his name or asked probing questions about his heritage. Am I black? Am I white? Am I something else entirely? He'd later reflect in his memoir, Dreams from My Father. Those questions weren't just personal, they were a microcosm of America's own struggles with race. Yet, Punahou was where Barack's potential began to shine. He excelled academically, diving into history and literature, and showed early signs of leadership. On the basketball court, he earned the nickname Barry and a reputation for cool-headed teamwork. His lanky frame and quick smile made him a quiet standout, even if he felt like an outsider. Teachers noticed his sharp mind, encouraging him to speak up in class, where his thoughtful questions often turned heads. Off campus, he spent time with his mother, who took him to cultural events, jazz concerts, art galleries, and lectures about global issues. These experiences broadened his worldview, teaching him to see beyond Hawaii's shores. Hawaii's diversity, its mix of native Hawaiians, Asians, Pacific Islanders, and transplants, shaped Barack in profound ways. He learned to navigate different cultures, to listen, and to find common ground. His grandparents' stories of World War II and the Great Depression gave him a sense of history's weight, while his mother's idealism fueled his belief in possibility. But life wasn't without its rough edges. Barack saw friends fall into drugs or trouble, and he himself dabbled in rebellion, sneaking beers, skipping classes. Yet, he always pulled back, driven by a sense of purpose he couldn't yet name. Those teenage years were a crucible, forging a young man who was introspective, ambitious, and acutely aware of the world's inequalities. By the time he graduated high school in 1979, Barack was ready to chase bigger dreams. His childhood, split between Hawaii's beaches and Indonesia's streets, gave him a rare gift: the ability to connect with people from all walks of life. He carried the lessons of his mother's tenacity, his grandparents' grit, and the cultural mosaic of his upbringing into the next chapter of his life. Little did he know, these humble beginnings were the foundation for a journey that would take him to the highest office in the land, breaking barriers and inspiring millions. Barack Obama's academic journey was a transformative odyssey, a period where he not only sharpened his intellect but also discovered his calling to serve. After graduating from Punahou School in 1979, Obama enrolled at Occidental College in Los Angeles, a small liberal arts school known for its progressive bent. At Oxy, as it was called, he was no longer just Barry from Hawaii, he was a young man stepping into a broader world, eager to find his place in it. The campus buzzed with political activism, and Obama dove in, organizing student rallies against apartheid in South Africa and engaging in debates about economic inequality. It was here, at 19, that he delivered his first public speech at an anti-apartheid protest, his voice trembling but resolute, calling for divestment from South Africa. Occidental was where Obama began to shed his teenage aimlessness, embracing his identity as a black man with a global perspective. He read voraciously works by Malcolm X, James Baldwin, and Toni Morrison, grappling with questions of race, justice, and his own purpose. But Occidental felt too small for his growing ambitions. In 1981, he transferred to Columbia University in New York City, plunging into the urban pulse of Manhattan. Columbia's political science and international relations programs challenged him to think critically about power and policy. New York was a gritty contrast to Hawaii's laid-back shores, subway rumbles, crowded streets, and stark poverty in Harlem just blocks from campus. Living in a modest apartment, Obama worked odd jobs, including as a file clerk, to make ends meet. He spent late nights studying, scribbling notes on Kant and Locke, but also ventured into the city's underbelly, volunteering at community centers and witnessing the struggles of working-class families. These experiences deepened his understanding of systemic inequality, planting the seeds for his future in community organizing. At Columbia, he honed his discipline, graduating in 1983 with a sharper sense of direction. He began to see himself not just as a student, but as someone who could bridge divides between races, classes, and ideologies. After graduating from Harvard Law School in 1991, Barack Obama faced a crossroads. With a prestigious degree in hand, he could have walked into a high-paying corporate law job, complete with a corner office and a comfortable life. Instead, he chose a path less traveled, one that would define his legacy: community organizing in Chicago's South Side. In 1985, before attending Harvard, Obama had moved to Chicago to join the Developing Communities Project, a church-based initiative focused on empowering residents of the Altgeld Gardens housing project, a predominantly black, low-income community plagued by poverty and neglect. This wasn't a glamorous job. It meant long hours, modest pay, and the daunting task of convincing skeptical residents that change was possible. Altgeld Gardens was a world of crumbling buildings, broken elevators, and asbestos-lined walls, where families struggled with unemployment and systemic disinvestment. For Obama, a young man with a mixed-race background and an Ivy League education, this was a plunge into the deep end of America's urban challenges. Obama's work as an organizer was about listening as much as leading. He spent countless hours knocking on doors, sitting in cramped living rooms, and hearing stories of frustration and resilience. Residents were wary. Many had seen do-gooders come and go, promising change but delivering little. Obama had to earn their trust, not with grand speeches but through persistence and action. He organized meetings where residents voiced concerns about everything from unsafe housing to lack of job opportunities. One of his early victories was securing city funding for a job training program, a small but tangible win that showed people their voices could matter. He also pushed for asbestos removal in Altgeld Gardens, a health hazard that had long been ignored. These efforts weren't headline-grabbing, but they taught Obama the power of incremental change and the importance of building coalitions. He learned to navigate the complex dynamics of community politics, balancing the needs of residents, local leaders, and city officials. The South Side wasn't just a workplace, it was a classroom. Obama saw firsthand the toll of systemic racism and economic inequality, from families struggling to pay rent to young people with few paths out of poverty. Yet, he also witnessed hope, mothers organizing for better schools, pastors rallying their congregations, and kids dreaming of futures beyond the projects. These experiences grounded him, shaping his belief that real change starts at the grassroots. He wasn't just organizing, he was forging connections, learning to speak the language of everyday people while drawing on his academic training to strategize. His ability to relate to both a single mother in Altgeld and a policy wonk in a city hall meeting became a hallmark of his leadership. In 1992, Obama took on another challenge, directing Project Vote, a voter registration drive in Illinois. His goal was ambitious: to register 150,000 new voters, particularly in Black and low-income communities. He crisscrossed the state, rallying volunteers and navigating logistical nightmares, from broken copiers to skeptical community leaders. The campaign was a success, registering over 150,000 new voters and boosting turnout in the 1992 election, helping elect Carol Moseley Braun as the first Black woman U.S. Senator. This experience sharpened Obama's political instincts, teaching him how to mobilize people and harness the power of collective action. By 1996, Obama was ready to take his commitment to public service to the next level. He ran for the Illinois State Senate, representing a diverse district that included both the struggling South Side and the affluent Hyde Park, where he and Michelle, whom he married in 1992, settled. As a state senator, he tackled issues like ethics reform, pushing for transparency in government, and championed the expansion of healthcare for low-income children. His ability to work across party lines, collaborating with Republicans on bipartisan bills, earned him a reputation as a pragmatist who could get things done without sacrificing his principles. He wasn't a firebrand, he was a listener, a strategist, and a bridge builder. The Chicago years were a crucible for Obama. They tested his resilience, deepened his empathy, and honed his ability to navigate complex social and political landscapes. He faced setbacks, failed meetings, skeptical communities, and the slow grind of systemic change, but each challenge made him stronger. His time in Altgeld Gardens and the state senate taught him that leadership wasn't about quick fixes or grand gestures, it was about showing up, listening, and empowering others. These lessons would carry him forward, from the gritty streets of Chicago to the national stage, where his ability to connect with people's hopes and struggles would propel him to historic heights. By the time he left the state senate in 2004, Barack Obama wasn't just a politician, he was a leader forged in the heart of America's challenges, ready to change the world. Barack Obama's rise to national prominence was a meteoric ascent, sparked by a single, electrifying moment that captured the imagination of a divided nation. It began on July 27, 2004, at the Democratic National Convention in Boston. As a little-known Illinois state senator, Obama stepped onto the stage to deliver the keynote address, a 17-minute speech that would change his life and America's forever. With a calm yet commanding presence, he spoke of unity, hope, and the shared dreams of Americans, famously declaring, "There's not a liberal America and a conservative America, there's the United States of America." His words, delivered with a preacher's cadence and a poet's precision, resonated deeply in a country weary of partisan gridlock and post-9/11 division. The speech wasn't just a call for unity, it was a vision of possibility, rooted in his own improbable journey as a Black man with a Kenyan father and a Kansas mother. Overnight, Obama became a political rock star, his name whispered as a future leader. Television pundits raved, ordinary Americans felt inspired, and the phrase, "the audacity of hope," entered the national lexicon. That speech propelled Obama into the 2004 U.S. Senate race with unprecedented momentum. Running as a Democrat in Illinois, he faced a crowded primary and a formidable Republican opponent, Jack Ryan. But Ryan's campaign imploded amid personal scandal, and Obama's replacement opponent, Alan Keyes, couldn't match his charisma or message. Obama campaigned tirelessly, crisscrossing Illinois in a beat-up rental car, speaking at union halls, churches, and county fairs. His message of hope and pragmatism connected with voters, black, white, rural, urban. He won in a landslide, capturing 70% of the vote, one of the largest margins in Illinois history. At 43, he became one of only a handful of African American U.S. senators, a historic milestone that thrust him into the national spotlight. His Senate swearing-in in January 2005 was a moment of pride for his family, particularly his wife, Michelle, and their daughters, Malia and Sasha, who were beginning to feel the weight of his growing fame. In the Senate, Obama didn't rest on his laurels. He tackled issues like veterans' benefits, nuclear nonproliferation, and government transparency, earning respect for his work ethic and ability to cross party lines. But it was his ability to communicate that set him apart. In 2006, he published The Audacity of Hope, a memoir-meets-manifesto that expanded on his 2004 speech. The book was a bestseller, blending personal stories with policy ideas, from healthcare reform to economic fairness. It wasn't just a book, it was a blueprint for a new kind of politics, one that rejected cynicism and embraced possibility. Readers saw in Obama a fresh voice, untainted by Washington's entrenched battles, and his book tours drew massive crowds, fueling speculation about a presidential run. By early 2007, Obama made a bold decision. He announced his candidacy for president. At 45, with just 2 years in the Senate, it was an audacious move. The Democratic primary field was stacked with heavyweights, including Hillary Clinton, a former First Lady with a formidable political machine, and John Edwards, a populist with a loyal base. Many doubted Obama's chances, critics called him inexperienced, and some questioned whether America was ready to elect a black president. Yet, Obama's campaign was unlike any other. He built a grassroots juggernaut, powered by small-dollar donations and an army of young volunteers. His team leveraged technology in ways never seen before, using social media and data analytics to organize supporters and raise millions online. His slogan, "Change We Can Believe In," wasn't just a catchphrase, it was a movement, capturing the frustrations of a nation reeling from the Iraq War and economic uncertainty. The primary was a grueling battle. Clinton's experience and name recognition made her the front-runner, but Obama's charisma and message of hope won hearts, especially in Iowa, where his upset victory in the 2008 caucuses stunned the political world. He faced skepticism about his race. Some voters openly wondered if America would embrace a black candidate, but Obama addressed it with candor, delivering a powerful speech on race in Philadelphia that turned a potential liability into a moment of moral clarity. His ability to navigate these challenges with poise and intellect won over doubters. After a hard-fought primary, he clinched the Democratic nomination in June 2008, a historic moment that brought tears to the eyes of civil rights veterans who never thought they'd see the day. In the general election, Obama faced Republican John McCain, a war hero and seasoned senator. The campaign was intense, with debates over the economy, healthcare, and foreign policy dominating headlines. Obama's calm demeanor and sharp intellect shone in debates, while his rallies drew tens of thousands, from Chicago to Berlin. On November 4, 2008, he won with 365 electoral votes, becoming the 44th President of the United States and the first African American to hold the office. That night, in Chicago's Grant Park, he addressed a tearful, jubilant crowd, promising a new era of unity and progress. For millions, his victory wasn't just political, it was a symbol of what America could be, a testament to the power of hope and collective action. Obama's rise from state senator to president in just 4 years was nothing short of extraordinary, a chapter that redefined American politics and inspired a generation. When Barack Obama took office as the 44th President of the United States on January 20, 2009, he stepped into a nation grappling with crises that would test even the most seasoned leader. At 47, America's first African-American president faced a perfect storm. The Great Recession was strangling the economy, with millions losing jobs and homes. Wars in Iraq and Afghanistan dragged on with no clear end, and partisan divisions in Washington had reached a fever pitch. Yet, Obama's calm, deliberate leadership rooted in the empathy and pragmatism forged in his earlier years guided the nation through turbulent times, leaving a legacy that continues to shape America and the world. One of Obama's most defining achievements was the passage of the Affordable Care Act, ACA, in 2010, often called Obamacare. The legislation was a monumental effort to reform a broken healthcare system, extending coverage to over 20 million uninsured Americans. It mandated insurance coverage, protected those with pre-existing conditions, and allowed young adults to stay on their parents' plans until age 26. The fight for the ACA was brutal. Republicans fiercely opposed it, branding it government overreach, while some Democrats pushed for a more ambitious single-payer system. Obama navigated these tensions with relentless focus, holding town halls to explain the policy and rallying Congress through months of contentious negotiations. The bill's passage was a triumph of persistence, but it came at a cost. It fueled a backlash that led to Republican gains in the 2010 midterms. Still, the ACA reshaped millions of lives, giving families security and proving Obama's commitment to systemic change, even when politically risky. Economically, Obama inherited a crisis unmatched since the Great Depression. The 2008 financial meltdown had left unemployment at 10%, with banks failing and industries teetering. His administration acted swiftly, passing the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act in 2009, a $787 billion stimulus package that invested in infrastructure, education, and renewable energy. The stimulus saved or created millions of jobs, though critics argued it was either too big or not big enough. Obama also bailed out the auto industry, a controversial move that saved companies like General Motors and Chrysler, preserving over 1 million jobs. By 2016, unemployment had fallen to 4.7%, and the economy was on a steady recovery path. These gains weren't always felt evenly. Many working-class families still struggled, but Obama's policies laid the groundwork for stability, proving his ability to steer the nation through economic chaos. On the global stage, Obama prioritized diplomacy over military might, a shift from the previous administration's approach. He oversaw the withdrawal of U.S. troops from Iraq by 2011, fulfilling a campaign promise, though the rise of ISIS later complicated the region's stability. In Afghanistan, he surged troops to combat the Taliban but set a timeline for withdrawal, balancing security with a desire to end prolonged wars. His most significant foreign policy achievements included the 2015 Paris Climate Agreement, where he rallied global leaders to combat climate change, and the Iran nuclear deal, which curbed Iran's nuclear ambitions through diplomacy rather than conflict. These deals showcased Obama's belief in multilateral solutions, though critics argued they lacked enforcement teeth. His 2009 Nobel Peace Prize, awarded for his vision of a nuclear-free world, sparked debate. Some saw it as premature, but it underscored his global influence. Obama's leadership wasn't without flaws. His administration faced criticism for its handling of racial justice issues, particularly after high-profile police shootings sparked the Black Lives Matter movement. While Obama spoke eloquently about race, some activists felt he didn't push hard enough for structural reforms, wary of alienating moderate voters. His use of drone strikes in the Middle East, aimed at combating terrorism, drew ire for civilian casualties, raising ethical questions about his foreign policy. Domestically, the economic recovery didn't lift all boats. Rural and working-class communities felt left behind, fueling political discontent that shaped the 2016 election. Obama himself acknowledged these shortcomings, often reflecting on the limits of presidential power in a polarized nation. Yet, Obama's leadership style, calm, reflective, and inclusive, inspired millions. His ability to remain composed under pressure, whether facing economic collapse or personal attacks, earned him the nickname No Drama Obama. He connected with young people, leveraging social media and pop culture, from appearing on The Tonight Show to curating Spotify playlists. His family life, his partnership with Michelle, and his role as a devoted father to Malia and Sasha humanized him, making the presidency feel accessible. His speeches, like the 2015 eulogy for slain Charleston churchgoers, blended hope and moral clarity, reminding Americans of their shared humanity. After leaving office in 2017, Obama didn't retreat from public life. He and Michelle founded the Obama Foundation, focusing on civic engagement and leadership training for young people. Their Netflix productions and memoirs, like Michelle's Becoming, kept their influence alive. Obama's post-presidency work, from mentoring activists to advocating for voting rights, reflects his lifelong commitment to empowering others. His journey, from a mixed-race kid in Hawaii to a global icon, remains a testament to perseverance, intellect, and hope. For millions, especially people of color, his presidency was a beacon, proving that barriers could be broken. Despite criticisms, Obama's legacy endures as a reminder that leadership, at its best, is about building bridges, inspiring change, and believing in the audacity of what's possible.
It's Visionary Steps 09. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Subscribe us for such as interesting videos. Thanks for watching.